Let's welcome Emil for his talk, which the title is Empowering Activists and Human Rights Defenders with Matrix. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thanks so much for being here. It's Saturday, 5:30 p.m. For many, I believe it's been some hectic days, maybe both. So I really appreciate also maybe the ones going to watch online. Been really excited to share a bit about the work that we've been doing and are doing with Actor. Ben was doing a session last year. He's sitting here. There's not a reason why. It's not because he was downgraded that I'm now standing here. I guess we'll take turns, so Ben will be back next year. But I'm going to talk about Mac and Apple. What's going on? Okay, this is me. I'm not going to talk so much about myself, but just briefly introduce myself as Emil. I'm the executive director of Actor. I'm also an activist. I'm a father. I'm an idealist, and I'm also a little bit of realist, I guess. But that is my background, and also why I 5 years ago embarked on the journey now together with Ben and the rest of the team. It's called Actor. So I will speak a bit about the why, because to me it's always important to talk about why something important. We do a lot of things in the world, but too few people ask too little times of why, even though we can do a lot of things. So I will talk about the why. Of course, I will talk also a bit about how, and I will also show you, if everything works out, together with my good friend Mac, the what. Okay? We'll start with the first part of why. So the first part is looking into three tendencies. One of them is that we need people power to address the challenges we're facing around the world. There's someone who talk about like the polycrisis, which is essentially an intermix of different crises, the rise of authoritarianism, the climate crisis, and also human rights. And so for us as Actor, but also many, hopefully, and as we know, many people are fighting against the different crises that are happening around the world. And so people power to address these things are vital. Unfortunately, another trend is that the civic space, so the people power, are on a downward spiral. So Civicus, which is one of our partners with Actor, is coming out with a yearly report every year, taking a temperature, what is the state of civil society? And the latest one they did last year, 2023, that is complete, as you can see, now shows that a third, or more than a third of the world population now lives in completely closed countries. You can check it out afterwards. There's different stages of what does closed, what does open, what does in between means. And only 2% or 2.1% lives in completely open countries. And this is going the wrong way. So this is increasing. And it's not only like in Global South, in Kenya or Zimbabwe or Philippines, it's also starting to happen in Europe. As a small example, in the UK, there was recently like 5 activists who was imprisoned together more than 20 years for doing civil disobedience. So this is not just something happening on the other side of the world, it's also happening where we are here in Europe, here in Berlin. The last tendency that we're going to look at before we dive into the context is obviously that digital tools have become critical infrastructure for the way, and when I say we, the movements, the activists, the grassroots are organizing. Like they're not only just like, maybe we use it, maybe we don't, they are all using tools in one way or another. But obviously, our foundation is that the tools that we have today are failing to support the level of organizing we need to change the world we want to see. And to give a bit of understanding of what do we mean by the current tools are failing, to come back to my own journey, this is Discord. Sorry if this is in Danish, you understand, doesn't matter. And this is Telegram. We use a bit of everything. This is like 5 years ago, before I went full-time an Actor. And maybe some of you know how this feels, but there's a lot of notifications in very little time, even if you're just 50 people in a group chat. And the question that always comes up is like, who's doing what? How do I engage? If I enter the movement, what happened in the last meeting? Who do I contact? And when we look at a bigger scale, not only about my problems that I had, but look at like the curve that one of our partners with ActionAid called Beautiful Trouble are mapping. Obviously, all movements and groups are different, but there is generally like a curve that shows how a movement is rising from like a pain or something you want to change, and there's maybe like a peak where like everything is going viral, they're getting a lot of attention, and at some point there's like contraction. Maybe they got the bill passed, maybe they didn't, but there will always happen a contraction, and that's where the real work starts. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because that and I'm generally speaking, for the first part, we're using social media really well to disseminate a lot of information, for mobilizing to tell people, come to the streets, or sign this petition, or comment on this post. But when it comes to the organizing part, we use a lot is instant messaging apps, where the primary medium of communication or organizing is chat. And so why is that a problem? Well, coming back to the first slide, there is an information overload happening in many ways. Not only because there's a lot of messages, but also because your activism, the things you're involved in, is mixed with your grandma who's asking, did you buy the flowers, or your boyfriend that broke up with you, or whatever it might be. Hopefully not. 37 Signal, maybe some of you know also this, actually made an article that is titled "The Best Way to Totally Stress Out Your Peers is Group Chat." And they made I think 17 or something bullet points. I just took the first 10 of them. But some of them, maybe or maybe not, you can relate to. It fosters like an ASAP culture, a fear of missing out, of not having to say because there's a lot of messages. If somebody reminds you that you're behind. And I'm happy to share the article afterwards, but it's actually quite interesting because they dive into these topics and not just like loud noises. As someone else, which I like how they kind of summarize this, is that I scroll up and up and up, trying to find where I left off, like I lost my place in a book that keeps getting longer as I read. Maybe some of you can relate to that. I could, at least. So, come back into summarizing the problem is that, on one part, the challenge we're looking at is how do we transform the awareness of someone who wants to engage into action? Not just like liking something or like writing hello in the chat, but how do we actually engage people who want to engage? Whether it's like on queer rights in Kenya, or if it's the climate crisis. Another thing that I think most people are also aware of is that the people are endangered by the tools that they're using, the current tools available. Another one is censorship. So Access Now and other organizations are mapping the increase of internet shutdowns happening in the world, which is also going in the wrong way. It can be during elections, where there's closed internet, it can be during protests, and unfortunately they use that as a weapon to silence people. So some of these things also combined with how the current tech infrastructure is using is the focus on usage, obviously driving certain algorithms, the sovereignty, the centralization. I'm not going to speak about that. I think people are very much well aware in this room about these things. So come back to why should we care about this, and why is this important to talk about and to challenge? There's, of course, many reasons why this is important, but one of them is come back to that the organized minority always wins over the unorganized majority. And that is what we have set out to do with Actor, is really to see how can we really bring together all the amazing forces that already is doing amazing work, but bring them even closer together to leverage the playing field of power dynamics. So coming into the how. Are you still with me? Yeah. Perfect. So Actor is a nonprofit organization, as shared in the beginning. And what we do is that we have been trying and are continue to build a coalition that consists of both movements, also intermediaries. Some of them maybe you know, Greenpeace, ActionAid, and others. And some of them also, again, on the ground. And what we're trying to do is to bring together these people. We actually put together some representation from Greenpeace, Amnesty, and ActionAid in the same room and say, hey, should we try to challenge the space that there is? And we can be leading that space. And they say yes. And so now I believe there's around 50 movements organizations that we're working directly with and supporting. That is the team. Maybe this guy, you know, Ben, maybe you don't, he's sitting there. And the rest, are spread across the world. Just like the movements that we work with is not only in around Europe, we work with and support movements that is in around now plus 15 countries. A lot of them focused in the global south. The best way that I wanted to and let's check the time, was instead of me telling about them, I just wanted to maybe play a little bit of the video and not play the full, but just for you to actually hear the voices of some of the movements that we are supporting. So hopefully the sound and internet connection will work.
Hi, my name is Alko Juma from Kenya.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Eching.
My name is Daniel Odinga.
My name is Univa Odhiambo.
My name is Stephen Okwany.
So my name is Boniface Maina.
Hi everyone, my name is Maxi Daniel. I am a lover of life, a human rights activist.
So basically, I am one of the implementing, the people implementing and in the ground, who engages with the communities in the ground, who does some of the events and activities on the ground, and I ensure that the safety and the security of the people on the ground is okay.
I coordinate the EcoVista Kenya movement. It's a movement that we normally try to educate and capacity build communities relating to climate change.
So ACTA has been able to support me when it comes to organizing. As many people in the world already know, Kenya has been having a revolution going around, yeah? We've been going to the streets and trying to get the biggest issue we've had, that is the finance bill, and trying to make the president and the leaders at large understand why we want to abolish, why we do not want this particular bill to be made a law. So we have been able to create a community where we're able to talk about these things, we're able to organize ourselves, and we're able to create impact.
A life-saving opportunity, because at the moment, using the other apps, it has been quite difficult.
Traditionally, we've seen other social media platforms, for example, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, being extremely infiltrated. We've seen online trolling, doxing of queer activists online. This has exposed them to extreme harm offline, because actually security issues start off online, then go offline. But now for ACTA is an invite to pace. Like, I invite the person that I feel I'm comfortable to invite to come and co-create or co-organize with us.
I think ACTA is a good app to organize stuff, because when you go to WhatsApp, when you go to these other apps, you find that the information is there a lot. So you'd have to scroll back or view my status so that you can see when the event is. But for ACTA, you just go to where I plan my events, where I arrange my events. Then you can see all the events that I have in line.
You can coordinate chapters that are under the EcoVista movement, whereby...
I think because of time, I have to end a little bit earlier. But yeah, I think we'll post this, so in case you're curious, very much welcome to see the rest. But I just wanted to at least, that they also have a little saying, even though it's recorded, it's not live. So, and as you can see, it's both climate activists, it's human rights defenders, it's queer rights in Kenya, other places where it's illegal. And so coming back into what does ACTA actually does, and it's a question that my wife still asks me 5 years after, Emil, what do you actually do? Maybe other people have the same question from their spouses. So one thing that is our main activity, what we do, and also why we're here today, is that we are developing Actor, which is a mobile-first organizing app, which of course is based on Matrix. And as you just met before, Maxi Daniel and Bonnie and the others, there's a lot of things happening in and around Africa, of course also many other places, but in Kenya, a lot of young people who really want to challenge the system, and who most of them have a smartphone, and that's why we really choose to focus on mobile first as well. The other thing that has kind of like grown organically, I will not dive too much into that for now, but is that we do digital training as well. We started doing with TOT, train the trainer trainings, because it's not only about giving a tool to people and say, hey, use this. It's also about understanding how do we actually securely organize about human behaviors. So we do that both in person and also online as well. And the last thing that also has grown also organically as we've been supporting different movements is actually the movement support. Because even though, like, obviously people are trying to organize in a secure way, things still happen. They still go to a protest, they still get arrested, they still get illegally detained. Unfortunately, some of them also get killed. So obviously there's a limitation what we can do. But we have someone in our team, 2 people, Nali Shebo and Joe, who's our movement support team, who is helping to connect the people that are in distress, the movement leaders that are in distress, with the service that is already out there. So there's Access Now, there's Defend Defenders, there's others. This is something we just started on, but the ideal, the vision, is that at some point we get to a place where people inside of Actor can click a button and can be directed, maybe share with the information, where they're located, what type of support they need, and based on that get connected to if it's medical support, legal support, psychological support, or even relocation support. So it's also about trying to understand, thank you. Because it's not only about, I think the last comment to that, it's not only about like providing support when it's needed, it's about giving psychological support to all the ones who like, should I go to this protest or should I not go to this protest? And if you know that if you end up in a place you shouldn't be, being arrested, that there is a chance that you can call someone or you can't get in contact, maybe that gives you the courage to actually show up. So, coming into Actor, which is the main thing I will just touch upon today because we are here at the Matrix conference. If anyone else is curious about the other things, happy to talk to that afterwards. So Actor, of course, we understand that chat is still important. It's not that we don't need chat. It's still important, but it's also about, again, how do we enable movements and organizers to know what's going on, like creating events. How can we make sure that resources that we upload, our shared folder, our community guidelines, create them as pins to share shared repositories, to be able to delegate responsibility. I will share that in a minute, to increase the overview, and also to separate basically the important updates from the day-to-day chat. That's one of the things that people said, like, I really want to know what is the things I need to focus on beside the day-to-day chat. So, almost before we get to the live demo, it's also about using the space structures of Matrix to really understand how can, for example, this is a concrete example that Civicus is one of our partners. They have created like a Re-Rise campaign, which consists of, is actually 12 movements that all are working on FOPA, Freedom of Peaceful Assembly. And they're all working on these in 12 different countries. And how can we connect their work together using the spaces and the rooms of Matrix inside of Actor? The same way, also with the spaces, we're trying to highlight that more with Actor, because for many of them, the threat model is both to some degree that they're being stopped by the police and asked, to look at their phone, but it's also letting in the wrong person into the room. So that's why we've been trying to look at Actor and design the spaces and chats in a way, or rooms that, and also with the trainings, to say you cannot just have one room or one space where you invite all people. You need to separate into layers. So maybe you have one that you can invite most people into, but then within that you can have private spaces or private rooms that is on more risk projects, and within that you can have even more. So really like trying to use that structure indefinitely if they want to. One of the last things in terms of like kind of the mechanism, the thoughts that we have put behind Actor is like, again, coming back to how do we drive engagement? How do we get people coming from the outside that just join a group? Maybe like you're part of like a Facebook group where there's like 20,000 people, but who is actually active? Most of them are just on the outside. And how do we get them closer into action, maybe being coordinators or just showing up for a meeting? And one of the examples that we're taking here is like, obviously looking at social media, which has a lot of bad things to it. We all know that. Addictive design, beautified filters, all that stuff. But there is one thing that actually does work well, and that is that we are very visual by nature, that we process images much faster than we do with text. So there's also like a potential here that we've been trying to look into that I will show you. And that is enough talk, showtime now. So we have created, I see we have 12 minutes, so we should be on the mark. Fingers crossed that this works. Ooh, it does work. All right. Okay, so this is Actor. Was there anyone who was here at the last Actor presentation that Ben did a year ago? Perfect, then it's a clean slate. Okay, so this is Actor. I'm logged in. This is Emil, that's me. Down here we have the navigation bar. I have opened my app, and I see an overview. I see at the top a search bar where I can search on all the different things I belong to. We can utilize that in a moment. But then under that, I have basically access to the different pins, the different task updates. We'll get into that. I can see the task that specifically is assigned to me. For example, today, whole presentation connected to the Matrix space. I can see my upcoming events. And down here, I have all the spaces that also, for example, is bookmarked. Obviously, I have them all here. I will now go into one that we created. So we created a space for the Matrix conference, 2024 sandbox. So obviously, make it very visual that it's public. Right now, it's me and Ben who's in it. And in here, you have essentially also an own overview, about description. You can scroll down. You have different pins. So you can see all the pins here. There's a conference schedule. This is uploaded as a link. There is the logo. This is uploaded as a picture. So this can be various ones. You can also create a new one, give it a name. You can change like the logo. People love to change the color, like customize it. Oh, yes, it's our space. So I think, Ben, you have gone crazy with all the types of colors and logos. It's amazing. And then under that, you have tasks. So presentation prep. Ben here already created the content, perfect. So this is a simple task list that you can create. You can click on it. You can assign yourself. You can add a due date. So if this was a protest or demonstration, something, who's dispatching the medical kit, who's getting the water, who's getting the permit for the police if that's needed. And then you have the event section within the space. So that is the active talk today. It is live. And the past ones is grayed out. And then obviously you have the chats that are in here, or rooms. And the member section. And then down the bottom, you have the action items. So you can allow, if anyone can create an event, only admins, and so on. So that is effectively how the space layout looks on an actor. And we also have created, if you just go to the create a space, so just a new subspace here, slaves, not slaves. Oof. Okay. Spelling is going fast. If I want to create a default chat room, sure, let's go. And again, the visibility settings in there. And then we have also enabled, to, of course, both to invite individual members, but also can invite all the members from in this case, the Matrix conference room. Yes. The chats, obviously, that is in the middle. That is pretty self-explanatory. And then there was the updates that I showed you about. So this was, again, for people that are not necessarily super active or only want to log in once in a while. They can go to the update section. They can scroll through the update section. So in this case, I can see the Matrix conference. The event is actually linked to the update. So I can click on the event, and I can say, yes, I'm going. So the idea with this feed is both to serve as a quick way of kind of like presenting the most important information you need, but also as a way to kind of like engage. So right now you can link to, let's say we just create an example here, something is a text. I can also make multiple slides with videos and pictures, and I can add an action items as well. Right now it's only events, but also we want to have like link to a space. So we create a new campaign. Please join the campaign. We uploaded a new resource. Please check it out. So that is the idea behind the update feed. And obviously, you can see the spaces it's connected to. Yes. So that is the update. I think because of time, I will pause there and go back to the slides, which is coming at an end. A lot of people tell me I always speak too fast, so that's why I just wanted to breathe out. Something that people sometimes ask, besides these things, besides who you're catering this for, activists, the features you build that is going beyond only chat as a medium to organize, what is really different as well? And one of the things that we really try to focus on is to make sure that the most amount of people spend the least amount of time, especially with the activists, that they need to know, with the valuable time I have, 2 hours a week, 1 hour a week, whatever, how can they spend that 1 hour in really addressing the most important things that they can take care of? This is the task I have assigned to me. This is the event I need to participate in. This is the resource I can check out. This is the last slide, I promise. If you want to, you can explore Actor. You can, of course, log in with your Matrix credentials. You can also maybe recommend, because we don't have sliding sync yet, it's going to take time just to sign up anew, and you can use the invite code, which automatically adds you to the Matrix space. Reach out to me or Ben if there's something, and also you can join straight away there. that was it for now. I hope it was useful. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Emil, for the amazing talk. Another great talk this evening. Anybody has any questions? Yeah?
So first, the app looks great. Honestly, for like an activist-oriented app, most of the time the UX isn't the best, but this is pretty good. And I want to ask, are the chats encrypted? Like for activists, it's kind of important, having privacy in their chats, security, as you mentioned, police checks or something. Are the chats encrypted, or
Yes.
how is that being handled? If they are encrypted, how do you handle the encryption keys, or is it the same like metrics?
Yes, maybe you can pass the microphone straight over to this gentleman sitting right here, because he's the one.
That's something you can answer as well. So chats are encrypted by default. So whenever you create a chat, we are encrypting them by default. Of course, if you join another Matrix chat that is not encrypted, it's just Matrix underneath. Spaces are not encrypted right now because we need to read the entire history, and that is a little more complicated. But chats, yeah. Chats are, DMs as well as group chats are end-to-end encrypted. And we are building on the Matrix Rust SDK so we can leverage all of the verification and that kind of stuff there. So the question is like, how do we manage the encryption keys? We're using the verification system that is provided by the Matrix Rust SDK. We have an implementation of the backup, encryption backup in there as well, but it's a little buggy because the Rust SDK has some bugs there.
Thank you for your question.
Great. You also want to ask?
I have two, if I can. First one, so basically everything is stored in Matrix, all the calendar events, all the content, etc. Yeah. Okay, cool. How are you funded? You say you're non-profit. Are you raising funds? Do you have a commercial model?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. So that's always the big question with the Idealist project, is that they sometimes die eventually, unfortunately. So it's something we have spent quite a bit of time exploring. We have a couple of venues. So right now, in the short term, we are funded by donors, so philanthropic funds, primarily like funders who support human rights, climate activists. So that is like the money that we right now have for developing Actor. In terms of running cost, and when we look, hopefully in 3 years, we aim to be sustainable, is a couple of revenue streams. One of them is intermediaries such as Civicus, ActionAid, and others who are paying a yearly contract where we, in return, offer support with rollout, support with onboarding, maybe at some point also with self-hosting. So that is one. Another one that we will embark on in a couple of months is with a partner who's basically is a physical host. So movements that, let's say, Extinction Rebellion, who wants to receive money, and someone who wants to give money, there needs to be a link in between. And the way that now, as actors are growing our ecosystem of movements, there is already now who's starting to have that need of having a physical host. And we are basically right now would be an affiliate. So we will be directing them over to them, and we will get a cut of the total amount of physical hosted. So that is another revenue stream. Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks. And right now it's like one big server for everyone, or do you set up one for each organization?
Right now it's mainly on the Actor server, but we are in dialogue with a couple and kind of like spinning that out on their own server as well.
Yeah, because cost-wise, hosting everything must be fun.
Yeah, yes. But yeah, it's a start, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Very nice question. Does anybody else has anything to ask? No? Okay, I have a short question. Yes. Like, do you have any plans to maybe circumvent censorship? Because, organizing protests, especially in like governments that are leaning towards, a more authoritarian regime, like yes. are going to block the internet. Do you have any plans to like support maybe even something over Tor or something else?
I mean, obviously, like I think the P2P project that has been worked on is very interesting for us. And something we also are exploring, like how we can contribute to that. Obviously, it's not an easy ride, and it's going to take us the funds. So I'm flying to New York tomorrow, and hopefully I will be able to lure some money out there to be part of supporting that. Yeah.
Sounds exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, yes.
Thank you.